Welcome to the final episode of our special series, Town Halls, titled Transforming Technology Education in India in Conversation with Vineet Gupta. The Town Halls are a precursor to the Global Technology Summit happening next week. The summit, co hosted with the Ministry of External Affairs, is themed Global Meets Local. It will convene world leaders, industry experts, policymakers, scholars, scientists, and other stakeholders to discuss pressing tech policy issues of today. The speaker lineup includes British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, several other ministers and officials, CEOs from the biggest tech companies operating in India, many startups, domain experts, strategists, and others. I encourage you to visit our specially curated website, gts2021.com, to register for the 3-day conference starting on the 14th of December. But with that, let's get on with today's conversation. This session is designed around tech education and the quiet and incredible story of Vineet Gupta, our very special guest today. Vineet is a graduate of IIT Delhi in mechanical engineering. He founded Jamburi.com in 1996, just 5 years after he graduated. He is the founder and trustee of Ashoka University. He was also the founding pro-vice chancellor of Ashoka between 2014 and 2017. Vineet is currently the co-founder and trustee of Laksha University, which recently opened its fabulous campus in Mohali with the view to reimagine engineering and technology education. Vineet, welcome to Town Hall.
Thank you, Rudra.
Let me start with a question that sort of takes you back to the 1990s. You finished IIT in 1991. In 5 years, you were a first-generation entrepreneur who invested and started a company of Jamburi. Now, this was a time of economic liberalization, very fast change in the country, political change in the country. Could you just give us a sense of those 5 years and how you went about thinking of being an entrepreneur, which was quite a rare sort of thing to do back in the day?
So, when I was graduating in 91, I had a few options that I was considering. One was working in an engineering company. I had a job in a public sector company. I was also contemplating doing an MBA. So I had written the GMAT exam. I had an offer of admission from Yale, but little scholarship, not that much that I could afford to go. And then I was contemplating entrepreneurship. And I think my experiences in college, along with studying mechanical engineering, I was deeply involved in a lot of extracurriculars. And, I became the president of ISEC local committee in Delhi, which sort of, it operates like a very independent entity, raises its own money. I think those experiences really excited me to become an entrepreneur. I mean, my dad was in a government job, but I started. So ultimately, the choice came down between going abroad for MBA or becoming an entrepreneur here, and I chose the latter. I actually started my career with starting a styrofoam company, which we divested in 2005, and my wife and I together. Then we started Jamburi in '96. So it was a very, very intentional, I think, something I really can't pinpoint, but I think wanting to work on myself, being sort of in control of my own time and my own destiny were motivations to become an entrepreneur. And I'm glad I took that call.
You've often talked about your Ashoka journey. And for those watching, I would highly recommend a 2017 TEDx video with Vineet, where he talks not only about Ashoka, but about what he calls a crisis in higher education in India and the need for private universities or universities more broadly. So I'm not going to talk too much about the Ashoka story here, Vineet, but Ashoka started in 2007. I mean, at least it came together in a structural format in 2007. In 2015, Laksha University was created. Could you just give us a sense of what were the sort of lessons at Ashoka? I mean, I remember seeing you at Ashoka, and you were there every day next to building blocks. You were there from morning till night. But what were the key lessons of Ashoka which prompted you to even think about an engineering and technology university?
Well, I think I would say actually, Rudra, we learned a lot from the Ashoka experience. So, look, Ashoka has been, I think, one of the most incredible parts of my life, and just making it happen. Uh, I was very enamored with the high quality institutions, particularly what United States has done with its higher education, and they built a series of top universities which are funded by collective philanthropy. And having with Jamboree sending students abroad, I used to wonder why can't we do the same in India? And that sort of led us to the Ashoka journey. And uh, in Ashoka, we did everything from first principles, raising the sort of philanthropic capital we did, doing extensive school outreach. We reached out to 300 schools to tell people about what liberal arts is. I mean, Ashoka, in some sense, uh, was not only opening an institution, but also educating people on the value of a broad based liberal education. But those lessons in outreach, in student outreach, getting a collective founder group together, building the campus, uh, the importance of high quality faculty early on, the fact that you recruit a good set of faculty, give a lot of independence to academia. I think those were all foundations on which Ashoka got built and became what it has become now in a short span of time. The Ashoka Charter very early on was very committed to the idea of the humanities, social sciences, pure sciences. And in 2015, then a group started to come together. I'm an IIT alum. A lot of my friends are alumni. They lead companies. They've done exceptionally well in the technology world. And the question would always come often that is our current engineering education doing justice to the times? Does technology education need reinvention? And that thought got some of us together on this journey to create Laksha. Now, in a broader context, I also believe, a broad education, let's say a broad liberal arts education, really is a good quality education for an educated citizen, right? That's the classical definition of a broad-based liberal arts education. Now, in 2021, when technology is pretty much ruling the world, that education for a educated citizen, technology becomes a core component. And I would encourage everyone to see this video. When Harvard decided to open its engineering school, there is this talk that how technology is the new liberal arts, right? And so I believe technology education today is really central to any education. And Laksha is started with that mission. What should technology education be in the 21st century? How can we reimagine technology education? How do you connect it broadly to big problems? How do you have more innovation, entrepreneurship coming out of India? And those are some of the ideas that motivated us to start Laksha. So Laksha is pretty much on the same founding principles that Ashoka's got built: collective philanthropy, high quality faculty. So the institution building principles are very similar to Ashoka. And some way the mission is similar too, that we are trying to bring excellence into higher education in India. But the mission and the objective is this is tech based. So I hope that sort of answers your question.
Well, Vineet, if I just push you a little bit, among the tech enthusiasts, writers like Ian Bremmer and a range of others, there's this basic view that there are three categories of technologists. So there are the globalists, there are what he calls the tech nationalists, and there are the utopianists, right? But in each of these categories, what Bremer and others also underline today is that there is a division between what technology can do for you in terms of answering a particular quote unquote problem, right? And the social, political, economic environment or ecosystem, or the human ecosystem that we all live in, right? Now, at some level, this was a battle between sort of utopianists in the valley in the US, perhaps in Bengaluru, right, where there is a very strong view that it's tech that can solve problems. We can code our way through this universe without really thinking about anything else. But clearly, there's a division. There's a division between the humanities, the social sciences, people, and technology. Does Laksha do something different to, say, the existing IITs or other many engineering colleges in India, keeping in mind that, IIT Chennai, IIT Powai, IIT Delhi, today they all have large humanities departments. So how does Laksha address this gap?
Right. No, I think you raise a very important question, Rudra. And I think, to me, actually, to really take on the first part of your question, engineers and technologists have to solve for humans. They have to solve for society, right? And in that sense, they have to understand humans and understand society. I think there can't be either or, right? And I think that is one fundamental change in which engineering and technology education needs to change. Now at Plaksha, we call it what we are saying, like, you need to bring in more design sensibility, and that will come with an understanding of society, of humans, and the classical design thinking approach of empathy. So an understanding of society, humanities, design thinking, systems thinking is pretty much ingrained in the Plaksha curriculum. And I know this is happening all around the world. This is happening in the IITs too. I Although the one difference is in lots of engineering institutions in India, and I don't want to single out anyone, the approach is a little bit from the outside, that you make students do, out of the 32 courses they do, let them do 6 courses in the humanities to add deep rank. And those could be, disparate courses, but it's really not really joining it to the hip, in the sense that it is integral to your education. Some of those courses need to be co-crafted. People from the social sciences and technology need to co-craft those courses. Your experiences and learning of design sensibilities needs to be co-crafted right from semester one. So it has to be pretty integral, and that is part of reimagining technology education for Plaksha.
Can I just ask you to, I think broadly we get the sense of what co-crafting a course would be, but what does that look like in practice? So if I think of a course on AI or nanotechnology or robotics, what would that co-crafting, would it be sort of, is the idea, I mean, I take the point that this is more immersive. What you seem to be suggesting, if I'm not mistaken, is that there's a kind of superimposition happening broadly in other engineering colleges, right? So you're doing sort of specific social sciences, and then you're doing your engineering, coding, etc. You're trying to bring it together in the syllabus itself. But that must be quite a challenge, because it's, I mean, I can tell you, even in the UK, where we've had many of these discussions at King's or in other places, it's very hard to do. To even get people from two different realms to write together is almost impossible. So how do you bridge that gap at Laksha?
So yeah, that's a great question again, Rudra, and we've been on it for a while. So we do this in a variety of ways. One, of course, is co-teaching. We have 2 professors co-teach a course. Our design thinking course in semester one is taught by 2 professors, one from a classical design art sensibility, and one from a, what does design mean from engineering perspective. But I think the second approach that I find most useful is, so during the 8 terms at Plaksha in the undergrad curriculum, we have what we call the Innovation Lab and Grand Challenge Studio, the ILGC. This studio pretty much runs through the 8 terms. And every term, students do projects. They do projects. So the learning by doing approach, I think, works really most effectively. So they are doing projects with faculty, not from just from engineering, but also from the social science. But they're also doing projects with the third year people can do projects with second year. So what we call vertically integrated projects. And these projects are really solving real problems of society. And the problems we ask our students to pick up, make your own campus, make it more sustainable. How do you solve for energy use on your own campus? How do you make your campus more tech enabled? And I think then you scale up those problems to your city and perhaps then to the country. And as students start working on these problems, which are really contextual around you in your environment, and they start working with faculty across disciplines and with students from other streams, a lot of that sensibility starts to develop.
Can I ask you a question, a more physical, geographical question? I mean, it's interesting. I mean, the view that I'm getting is very much like a Palo Alto kind of concept. You've got this entire vibe, you've got students moving around, solving problems, a lot of interaction with startups and entrepreneurs who litter your kind of founders page. But why did you choose Mohali as the location for the university?
Well, the choice, when we started, we were thinking Gurgaon, to be honest. And as we started going deeper, we realized in Gurgaon, we may have to be, for the sort of campus you want to build, you probably end up being 50 kilometers away, right? So you're effectively really away from the ecosystem, away from the city. And my experience has also taught me that, firstly, the place where you pick your campus has to be a great place for faculty and students to live, you know. Uh, so Mohali and Chandigarh, if I can say broadly, offers that ecosystem. It is on the foothills of the Himalayas, clean air, wonderful infrastructure, great hospitals, great schools. And then so it's a great, it's a little bit like the Boston to the New York, you know, and it's a great place to build an institution. And Chandigarh is coming up as a great ecosystem with ISB, ISA, many institutions. So I think it's a wonderful place to build an academic institution where students, so it'll also, Laksha and Mohali will gel into the city, whereas building an institution 50 kilometers away, which is remote, and people are having a challenge coming back and forth. And that, I believe, has, the more we reflect on that decision, the more we are convinced that it's been a terrific choice.
And many of us look forward to spending time in Mohali. So that's just an open invitation. We need to invite us.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But just coming back to tech policy, Vineet, we're a think tank. We work in the area of tech policy. We've got a very large team. The Global Tech Summit has very much to do with the research. Not only we do, but many other institutions within India. The one problem that we find constantly is, and simply put, is bringing different people together with different vantage points on a similar problem. Everyone wants to solve a problem for India. Everyone wants to scale a problem. But the route is very different. So government has a particular view on technology, for instance, right? So take the encryption debate, for instance. Many in government says that, look, let's find the middle ground. We want to access some kinds of data. Let technology find an answer. The cryptographers say, actually, it's not possible. It's not an either or problem. You either break encryption or you don't break encryption. But there's something completely lost in that translation. We see it in privacy. We're beginning to see it in the debates around cryptocurrency, where there's a very big move to ban cryptocurrency, for instance, within India. And a lot of it seems to come from not fully appreciating the technology in itself. Now, I think think tanks and public policy institutions have gone as far as they could, in a sense, to bring this circuit together. Perhaps the answer lies in education, in getting the MPs and parliamentarians and the cryptographers and the lawyers sort of in short courses together in an environment like Mohali at the foothills of the Himalayas to say is, okay, let's really figure out what the problem is. Is that something that Laksha might be mooting? We hear about it in IIT and other places. We don't really see it.
No, so this is clearly on our mind and very front and center. I think the sequencing and the timing of it may take a couple of years. We've just started. The campus opened on November 7th, and our first students have come in. But, Plaksha's mission is, we are big on impact. And I totally agree with you. That is not happening without active consideration or participation in policy creation, and helping drafting policies, and more so in students' understanding of policy. So that is really front and center. It may take us a few years to get down that path. I'll be quite honest. We do need to develop some more technological depth before we start delving into issues of policy. But as our faculty body grows, that's an area we want to venture in. Now, in our curriculum, students are going to experience some of that. Even in the undergrad curriculum towards later years, students start to get a taste of policy. And technology is changing at such a rapid pace that policymakers worldwide are grappling with that change. And I should really commend you guys for what you are doing. You are really bringing this debate right up front center for all of us to participate in. So I do hope that, but equally, policy is a space that requires all stakeholders to come on a common platform. So government institutions like yours, universities have an active role to play. And I think having a policy institute that can bring all of these stakeholders together is something that we would really like to do, and perhaps sooner than later.
Well, I want to just switch maybe focus a little bit away from Laksha and go a little bit broader. in India, we've got incredible talent. If I think of the work that, people are doing on technology, in Bengaluru, our friends and colleagues and peers will, constantly tell us that they're building the highways, the digital highways for construction. They build UPI, they build Aadhaar, they're part of India Stack. Now they're involved in bringing the unified health interface to life. And it's an incredible story where the government invests in these infrastructures, where companies like WhatsApp or Paytm or Google can come, add a layer of technology, and they're plugged into a payment system, and suddenly 400, 500, 600 million people. But at the same time, what we don't have is an Indian Facebook, is an Indian Google, is an Indian Amazon. How do we solve for that? A, is it necessary? Or B, is it we need places? Is it that we need places like Laksha for that creativity and imagination to kick in unhindered? What's the problem, and how do we approach this?
So again, a brilliant question, Rudra. So let me sort of also go back into, why Laksha. Now, some of the branches of engineering that are prevalent everywhere in college, electrical, mechanical, civil, some of these branches really got created before Second World War, after Second. So they are really the legacy of the Second World War, right? And engineering and technology really is a response to problems in society. Many of those problems have changed. The character of those problems have changed. Applications have changed. Engineering branches have not changed, right? So fundamentally, Plaksha is fundamentally reimagining engineering disciplines. We're not offering the classical electrical, mechanical, civil. So we offer a degree in robotics and cyber physical system. Any machine today has a cyber piece to it. It has a physical piece to it. Gone are the times when it's isolated. We have a degree in biological systems engineering at the intersection of biosciences, engineering, and data science. And the fundamental belief being that a lot of advances and innovation in the current century is going to be bio-related. We have a degree in data science, economics, and business, really building the layer of technology for businesses. Now, and the reason I bring this up is a response to so engineering disciplines need to be reimagined. So the answer to your question is yes, engineering curriculum in our country, and this not just for India, but the world over. Top institutions globally, including MIT, are thinking like that. How do they reimagine? How do they collapse the boundaries of engineering disciplines? The second is really how is engineering taught? The learning by doing mentality, project based, bringing in the design sensibility, bringing in the element of creativity. I think so. A lot has to do with the way engineering and technology is taught in India. And I totally resonate. And I believe, I think there could be many answers to your question on how do we get more Facebooks and Googles, etc. But as an educator and as someone who's spending time in higher education and coming from that perspective, I do firmly believe that, yes, technology education needs major change, major reform. And Plaksha is one way to create a torchbearer. Maybe other institutions can follow example.
I just want to switch to the question of you being an educator. You're part of a group of philanthropists that is quite unique in India. India is not new to philanthropy and education. The 40s, 50s, 60s were the kind of golden years in many respects. The other, the Tatas invested in a poverty lab at the LSE in the 19th century. So philanthropy is obviously not new, but there was this hiatus for maybe about 40, 50 years. And now we've seen this big boom. It's a boom of private universities and also universities that don't necessarily have one name under them. So it's not one big business house, but it's a collective. Do you see are people around the world, the people that you are dealing with, whether they're entrepreneurs or whether they're in tech or they've done well, is there a big kind of move within them to put money back in India and to put it back into these universities? Is money a problem for you in that sense?
Well, money is always a problem, Rudra. And I would say Ashoka has been a torchbearer in that sense. I don't think there is a set of people sitting out there to say, look, we would really want to donate to this cause. This cause is really close to our heart. But, nothing succeeds like success. But when people see that their philanthropy can make huge impact, that their philanthropy can help create a great institution, then more and more people are excited, right? I mean, Ashoka today has 170 large donors. Laksha already has 105 donors. So in that sense, people are excited. People want to contribute. In the good part is in the last 25 years, a lot of wealth has got created in this country. And a lot of this wealth has been created by first generation entrepreneurs, people who had the benefit of a great education. These people went to top institutions within India and outside, built great organizations, and they've created wealth. And a lot of them want to give back. And while giving back, they are also committed that we want to build excellent institutions. Whether they have our name or not is secondary. And I don't think everybody would think like that. But yes, there are a large number of people today who want to contribute to a good cause. But what is important is what are you creating? Are you creating something excellent? Are you creating something that will last a few centuries? Is there a belief that this is something that we would like to invest our money and time in? I think if the cause is worthy, people rally around. Having said that, uh, raising money for philanthropy is always difficult. I won't say that, people are just waiting to donate.
And you've done an incredible job, you and maybe this select group. Is it difficult convincing people who left India, say 10 years ago or 15 years ago, to come back? Because I guess that human capital is absolutely core and essential to the mission that you are trying to create. So is that becoming easier in a sense? Is that sell becoming easier?
That's again a great question, Rudra. Again, in my limited, I find people who left 20 years ago, 15 years ago, or more, it's more difficult. Uh, a lot of people have great belief in India's story, but equally, people who left 20 years ago continue to be skeptical about how things will shape up. However, I find that people who left 5 years ago, 10 years ago, the younger generation are more sort of willing to take a bet and come back. So we find a lot of PhD scholars now coming from top US institutions. But again, the math is still not loaded in our favor. Out of 10 top PhD graduates, probably 7, 8 don't want to come back, but 2 or 3 do. And especially for faculty recruitment, that's the pool you want to dive into. That's the people you want to bank on. But, the other good thing about our diaspora, which we can leverage is and I'm again taking the US example, the leadership of most American universities, or a lot of top American universities, is Indian or of Indian origin, right? The presidents of a few universities, deans of engineering, especially deans of business schools, are of Indian origin, and they really, really want to help contribute, give their time, and do whatever it takes to build top quality institutions here. I find, at least for Laksha, that has been a huge, huge advantage. I think anyone and everybody we reached out to is willing to really collaborate, willing to help, willing to partner. And I think that's a great talent pool that we should leverage.
Well, I mean, in the sense I've been to Ashoka, I've spent time, look forward to going to Mohali, but I think what we've seen is the great buzz among the students, the enthusiasm that exists in these kind of ecosystem. But what about your buzz and enthusiasm, Vineet? So there's Ashoka, sort of tick, liberal arts university, reimagining engineering and technology, Laksha, an incredible feat. What's next? What's the next big project in your mind? Even at an early conceptual stage, is there one?
Well, somewhere back in 2005, 6, it was a very conscious choice. I was extremely inspired by creating top quality institutions in India, which led me to the Ashoka journey. And, it's been a great group of founders. Honestly, when I was on the Ashoka journey, I never thought Laksha will happen, or, I never thought there is appetite for me to build another, or be part of an effort to build another institution. But it happened. It is just, institution building is just so infectious. And Joe, I really love doing what I do. I really enjoy this. So I do this. And I am really committed to the cause of higher education in India. So difficult. And I think I have a few years to go. So maybe, as new opportunities come up, new challenges come up, I'm happy to participate. Nothing concrete so far. Institution building also takes a lot of time. I think both Ashoka and Laksha, Ashoka is more mature and firmly established grain brand. Laksha still has a long way to go. it will take a few years of effort to establish these as top quality institutions. We've sort of started on this journey. But since you raised this question, the one thought that sort of intrigues me is that in the last few years, as I travel and see, and also look deeper into Indian higher ed, I believe technology and medicine have to marry. India did this strange thing by creating silos. Uh, our technology institutions are different from our medical institutions, right? Now, you look at any top universities abroad, they are all part of one ecosystem. And again, a lot of breakthrough in human health, in planetary health, is going to be at the intersection of technology and bio. So that intrigues me, that, I don't think we can build an isolated technology institution today. At some point, the medical sciences cannot be far away. And that's a question I'm sort of starting to explore.
And Vineet, we have a sort of a paradigm question that we asked in part of this series, and we've had interesting answers from the previous three speakers, is what's the one life lesson, if you like? I mean, right now I can tell you, you have a lot of students, you have a lot of people watching this, and I've said this to you privately, but this conversation is done better in social media than even those of high ministers, prime ministers, and others. So it only shows the interest that students have in this. Is what's the one life lesson that you have for them?
Well, I would only say that invest hugely and deeply in relationships and people. Your relationships, all your relationships are deeply important. Invest deeply. It should worry you even if one relationship goes wrong. So investing in people and relationships is something, at least for me, that's a life lesson that's worked, and I would pass that on.
Vineet Gupta, thank you so much for spending time with us in Town Halls, the precursor for the Global Tech Summit, which will be live next week in a hybrid format. And we hope all of you can take part in the GTS in different formats. And Vineet, we hope to see you soon. And thank you for continuing to inspire us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rudra. Pleasure to be here.
Thanks a lot, Vineet. That was really great.
Thank you. I enjoyed the conversation. Thanks for just doing a great job.